Okay, welcome everyone. This is Joe Armstrong, live from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area this morning. Welcome to the Power Systems Virtual User Group webinar for January. This is the second one that we're having this month. We had one a couple of weeks ago. We talked about IBM Cloud Private. Before we get started today, just a couple of things to talk about. And I mentioned these last time as well. The first one is upcoming big conference things that are happening. So Think is in February 12th through the 15th, IBM's great big conference. If you're able to go to that, that would be great. The other conference that I always push as I think the best conference for technical people like are on this call is TechU. The next TechU, April 29th, May 3rd. If you can make TechU, I have a discount code on the Power Systems Bug Wiki. So feel free to go out and see that wiki. You'll see the discount code in red up there towards the top. It'll talk about the TechU. It'll tell you what the discount code is and what the price is. It's like the super early bird pricing, but this one won't expire. So feel free to use that. It's nice. It shows that you're a virtual user group listener, and that always helps me to get discount codes in the future. So use that because it helps to get the codes in the future as well. And if you're filling out the form and you don't have any other IBMers to put in there, put my name in for the person that's telling you about it. And that helps me to, one, get discount codes and get there as well. So the other thing is, before we get started, there's in this WebEx, which, we've been using for a little bit now, there's a couple of different panes. There's like a chat pane and a question pane. If you've got questions, please put them in the Q&A pane so that I see them. I'm not going to try not to pay any attention or too much attention to the chat pane. So if you have questions, make sure you put them in the Q&A pane, and then we'll see them and we'll try and get them answered. So with that, let's go ahead and get to the topic of the day. We've talked about Power VC in December. We talked about IBM Cloud Private a couple weeks ago in January. So we're going to kind of wrap up our little cloud series here with a discussion on IBM's bundle. So IBM has a Power Systems Enterprise Cloud bundle, Cloud Edition bundle. And you're probably familiar, if you've been with AIX for any amount of time, you're probably familiar with the AIX Enterprise Edition and that kind of bundle. So the Power Cloud bundle is not just for AIX, is the beauty of this bundle, and our speaker Petra will tell us all about it. But I just want you to know there's two bundles that we're going to talk about here, but one is really more prevalent. If you really want to get the bang for your buck, and I think Petra will explain all this, this is the one that's really going to be highlighted. So with that, I'm going to introduce Petra Buer. Petra is our, among other things, and she's going to have to tell you the long list of things that she does for IBM, but one of them is the AIX Offering Manager. So we've been working with her for quite some time, and she's always helped me out and all our customers with AIX kind of stuff. So, but Petra's also, is part of that, in charge of this whole cloud bundle thing as well. So with that, Petra, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, and you can kind of give the rest of the intro that you like and get started.
Thank you very much, Joe. Yeah, that's correct. I mean, I always let my title right from the beginning, Offering Manager, Power System Software. But what it really means is that I work in various areas related to the software side of things within Power Systems. I mean, you're right. One of my major responsibilities is AIX, the AIX stack, so the AIX base and kind of the AIX capabilities throughout our Power Systems portfolio. And the other thing that I take care of is security within Power System, which is kind of an interesting one because it's spread across the board. And this bundle, I mean, I came up with this idea primarily, and it's kind of, related to AIX Enterprise Edition. So basically, I took it to market. So that's why I'm the offering manager for that one. So let me talk a little bit about this. So the new IBM Power Systems Enterprise Cloud Edition, which we basically announced in fourth quarter last year, I'm actually quite excited about it because, I mean, several of our clients were as well. And basically, this is the first offering I took to market where I got questions how to configure it in eConfig before it actually GA'd. So that was kind of a good story. And as you said, it's generally an AX enterprise type of offering, but with a much broader scope in terms of bundled components, but as well as supported operating systems. And all the components are kind of focused around the theme of cloud, but we will see that here in a bit. So let me just, a couple of slides on background, and I do not want to talk too much about it, but this slide just has some facts in particular related to private cloud, as for instance, the 91% of public cloud adopters which will be using some degree of private cloud here indicates. And talking private cloud, this is currently the cloud area with the highest growth rate compared to other clouds. And we have actually seen a lot of clients moving back to private cloud, which the 80% here shows. And maybe moving back is not the right term, but what they do is they got started with public cloud, maybe decided on-prem is the better choice for them. So they are then moving back and running their environment really as a private cloud versus in earlier times they managed server by server. And of course, there are good reasons for running your workload within a private cloud, such as performance, resiliency, security and compliance, or considerations in terms of how predictable a specific workload is. And as most of you know, right, in that area, we have quite some strength with Power Systems. But what organizations are really moving towards is multi-cloud environments, as this gives them the choice to pick and choose and deploy workloads in the cloud that is best suited for it. And what all these clients and various lines of business really would like to do is, no matter if talking public, hybrid, or private cloud, leverage the benefits of cloud, such as rapid provisioning, simplified management, including self-service capabilities, flexibility, and of course, cost efficiency. So this is basically a slide that probably most of you know that we used during our Power 9 launch. And we have made simplified multi-cloud a key theme for our Power 9 systems and the launch. And what I'm referring to here is the complete Power 9 stack. So what I will do in the session is to touch on the various components and the various levels, and what that means that we simplify enterprise cloud management by, for instance, reducing complexity and all these type of things. So I used this slide before already, but I thought it's a good fit here as well to talk and have a high-level view on what are cloud capabilities on Power. And from my perspective, this slide would have looked quite a bit lighter 2 years ago, or maybe even a bit empty, but we have done quite a bit to provide more cloud, or let's say infrastructure choices for our Power Systems clients, and are constantly broadening these. So in the center, we have Power VC as our offering for private cloud management with capabilities to facilitate hybrid and multi-cloud. So you mentioned you had a session on this in December, so probably I should not talk too much about it. But recent enhancements like that you can export and import images, right? So you can export an image and basically import it wherever you want, which could be in a different data center within your enterprise, but it as well could be some sort of public cloud and easily share images between those. And of course, the enhancement that we had that now Power VC can as well manage open Power Systems, so KVM-based servers, which now allows clients or basically limits Power VC any longer to just the Power VM-based systems, but that clients can manage their ALC boxes with Power VC as well. Then we have Nutanix, who are the leader in the hyperconverged space, and we had a collaboration with them in the Linux space almost since 2 years now, or maybe 1.5 years. And of last year, we basically extended that to AX to enable selected AX workloads to run on that infrastructure as well, which now enables clients that are really bought into this hyperconverged story to consolidate some AX workloads onto this same infrastructure. We always highlight the fact that we are open, right? And that shows as well our various partnerships with third parties like VMware, Red Hat OpenShift, or others, and we are constantly enhancing these. I will touch on that in a bit. And of course, we have our own in-house multi-cloud manager, which is ICP, that can sit atop VMs that had been deployed with Power VC or with Nutanix or via pure OpenStack, but as well System Z or x86 VMs. And finally, we have basically off-prem cloud options, such as the partnership we started 1.5 years ago to provide AAX in the public cloud with one of our partners called SkyTab, and we are working on several more options at the moment, or already did. So we just waiting for the various announcements to be put out there to talk about it publicly. As mentioned, we are enhancing this. So some of the recent enhancements were Red Hat OpenShift as well as vRealize operations. So we already had a partnership with vRealize automation, which meant you could use vRealize to manage your Power workloads as well, but you had no insights into the workloads. So that changes now with VMware vRealize operations for Power. And then in the private cloud area, we had several improvements that truly benefit the private cloud. One is the compressed and encrypted LPM data, which means, well, that speeds up LPM operations tremendously and, of course, makes them more secure as data in flight is encrypted. And the Enterprise Cloud Edition we are talking about in this session. So when we talk about cloud capabilities throughout the stack, let me just highlight a few here in the AX area with recent enhancements, in particular of the 7.2 TL3 last fall. So we had further enhancements of AX Live Update so that you can apply iFixes, SPNTLs without a reboot. And due to feedback we got from our clients right now, you basically could do that somewhat across frames so that we integrate with LPM. The live update could take somewhere else place where resources are available, and then you could bring back the workload. We have done quite a bit in terms of security. So for instance, trusted boot and trusted install, which is in particular important in cloud environments where basically resources are shared and you basically need a mechanism to check on the trust level of these resources. Some of you might have heard about that. So beginning last year, we first provided trusted and secure boot of firmware images, which meant when clients basically boot that firmware up, they can check if that really is the firmware that we provided from IBM and it was not being tampered with. So with the last TL, basically, we built that up into the OS with AAX as well. Then we had various scalability improvements that for sure benefit in cloud environments as well, like the change default mode to SMT8 for Power 9, or like more threads and more terabytes in a single LPAR. And when talking about new type of workloads and being open, right, we made several packages available on our AX toolbox, such as PostgreSQL, MongoC, R, and others. And another thing, and I think Nigel had a webcast on that last week, right, with NJMon, that allows you for, more modern performance stats tooling, because basically you could take what is provided there as it kind of creates JSON format in stats databases and use graphing tools such as InfluxDB and Grafana to show, for instance, energy or temperature metrics. What plays as well in that cloud scene is different options how to purchase AAX. So we rolled out the AX monthly offering almost 2 years ago. A lot of people were not really aware of that. It was available in Passport Advantage, which was one of the issues because our clients, business partners, sellers are used to ASE config and not to Passport Advantage. So what I worked towards in second half last year on a kind of compromise to make packages of AX monthly available in ASE config. We have a 3, 6, 12, and 36 month package. It's based on AX 7.2. It's available for both small and medium tier. And And what is kind of nice, for instance, you purchase a 3-month package. It includes license and swarmer, so well suited for POCs or these type of things. And at the end of that period, there are no renewals or other type of things. You could just decide to purchase another package, a bigger one or a smaller one, or purchase the perpetual at that point in time in case it was a successful POC, for instance. So we had various enhancements throughout our Power Systems software stack, and a lot of them are in particular in terms to simplify cloud management. So when talking about Power VM, right, with Power 9, we put Power VM Enterprise Edition in every server, which makes all these workloads mobile. We as well came up, I don't have it in this deck, but for instance, if a client would like to LPM workloads running on Power 7 or 8 today to Power 9, but only has for Power VM Standard Edition, there actually is a 60-day free activation feature to leverage LPM to move up to Power 9, and from then on, Enterprise Edition is included in every server, so it is mobile by design, so to speak. And I already touched on the compressed and encrypted LPM, which of course benefits all of the workloads, AX, IBM I, and Linux. Power VC, I touched on several of these improvements already, right? The export-import capability to share images between clouds, I would say. We integrated with Spectrum Scale that basically enables that SAN-less story I already mentioned, and I will talk to that in a little bit more detail in a bit. That the integration with IBM Cloud Private, which is key, right, to have good integration with high-level cloud orchestrators and, of course, in particular with our in-house one. Power SC. Power SC is our portfolio for security and compliance. Of course, to raise the level of these, but secondly, and not less important, simplify management of these. So we wrapped around a nice web-based user interface 2 years ago, and throughout these 2 years, we had 3 major releases that had huge enhancements to the product. One was that now you can manage security and compliance not only for AX, but as well Linux on Power. We had several improvements in terms of file integrity monitoring to really have improved real-time malware prevention and detection. We had additional profiles, for instance, to help with GDPR from an infrastructure standpoint. We went a little bit more open, providing REST APIs, because several of our very big clients would like to integrate that in their bigger ecosystem and include that information in cross-level dashboards, and did a whole lot to support clients better with security audits. And KYC multi-factor authentication, so MFA stands for multi-factor authentication. We put it out a year ago. The initial release just supported AX, but last fall we had a major release with that one as well, so now support Linux and Power as well as covering the HMC. And we made a bunch of more factors available in order to authenticate. So multi-factor means no longer user and password is sufficient, but in addition, you need to provide an additional factor, such as an RSA Secure ID token or a federal smart card, which was available there before. So now clients actually can authenticate via their phone to their AX applications running on Power or using that YubiKey, as well as several more. Last but not least is kind of our high availability portfolio, and here I put PowerHA for AX because this session is somewhat AAX related, and there as well were several improvements in terms of cloud. So one is that there's a new backup to cloud option. We had improvements in terms of that we now provide failover metrics so that you can see where was the time spent during a failover to see if you have kind of things you might want to improve prior to the next one. And a couple of more. And finally, the new VM recovery managers. I don't know, several of you might have heard by now of them as well. Basically, they come in 2 flavors. There's a recovery manager for HA and one for DR. And in contrast to PowerHA, which is a cluster-based solution, right, that sits in the OS, the recovery managers are a VM restart-based solution. the benefit of that is that it is OS agnostic. So whereas you have a PowerHA for AX, a PowerHA for IBMI, a PowerHA for Linux, there's one recovery manager that can basically manage high availability for all the three OSs. It provides a lot of automation and simplification policies such as co-location and anti-co-location, as well as monitoring agents for various databases such as DB2, Oracle, and SAP HANA. So a lot of clients are using a lot of these, some even all of these, and of course they need to kind of order all of them separately. This is now where comes this new cloud bundle in place and where AX Enterprise Edition were coming from. So let's take a step back and talk about AX Enterprise Edition for a minute. So AX Enterprise Edition is a broadly adopted and very successful offering as it bundles the AX-based operating system with software offerings that are very common and highly used by our clients. If a client runs AX and Linux on the same box, which quite some clients do, right? If you look at the Linux side of things, they have their Linux distro of choice and need to purchase basically all of the Power System software offerings on top, even the ones that come in form of an attractive bundle with AX Enterprise Edition. Similar in the IBMI space. But as IBMI is always a little bit different, I'll focus on AX and Linux here for now. So the idea was like, well, can we do something to expand this offering to Linux and IBMI also? Another thing that I was approached with, well, could you add more offerings in AX Enterprise Edition? I really would like to see XYZ. So another thought of this new bundle was like, well, what would be a compelling set of offerings? What are clients really asking for, in particular facilitating cloud deployments? Another thing that clients were asking for is more licensing flexibility in terms of the operating system. So if you think about it, a lot of clients no longer plan a year in advance. Well, I run that many cores, I run that many cores AX, I run that many cores Linux. So some of the questions I got or comments were, I would like to put an AX Enterprise Edition type of offering with just the software components on the whole box, and then more flexibly license the operating systems, leveraging capacity on demand or the AX monthly offering, for instance. And of course, another thing, and I was not approached in terms of this one, but what I've seen out there is that a lot of times when clients really would like to get another software offering like PowerSC multi-factor authentication or PowerSC, they really struggle with getting justified an additional software offering. So for them, it's much easier to purchase a compelling bundle with a box, even though they might not deploy all of them right in the beginning and struggling afterwards with, the one or other piece part. When thinking about it, I said, well, here you can see basically the components that finally made it into the bundle. So it's PowerSC Standard Edition, PowerSC Multi-Factor Authentication, PowerVC SDI, the Recovery Manager for HA, our Cloud Management Console, and then 3 non-Power products, which is BigFix Lifecycle, IBM Cloud App Management, and Spira. And I will touch on each of those in a bit in more detail. But when I thought about this, I said we really need a second flavor of this bundle that includes AX Standard Edition to allow for smooth upgrades for clients coming from AX Enterprise Edition. Okay. Let me touch on what that gives you value-wise at a high level before basically jumping into each of the components for a couple of minutes. So basically, the first theme is really to simplify management of your cloud environment. So PowerVC plays into this pillar, Spectrum Scale, our Cloud Management Console, as well as Cloud App Management. The second block that was already somewhat existent in AX Enterprise Edition as well is simplifying management of security and compliance. A complete new pillar that was not covered at all in AX Enterprise Edition is around high availability by bringing in the VM Recovery Manager for HA. And last but not least, Aspera for X-rated file transfer of huge files in distributed environments. As mentioned, the beauty of this is this bundle can be put on top of any of our operating systems. As you might recognize, IBM I is faded out here a bit because I think 4 out of these components do not support IBM I or do not support IBM I yet. But as we are working towards that for several of the components, that bundle over time will get of more benefit for IBM I as well, from my perspective. As mentioned, we made a second flavor of this available, which basically includes AAX Standard Edition. So this basically compares to AX Enterprise Edition, but as you can see, we put quite a few more offerings and capabilities into it. All right. In case of questions, Joe, feel free to read them out of the chat. I'm not monitoring it, or if kind folks can unmute themselves to ask questions. Otherwise, I will just keep going. And one thing I forgot to mention in the beginning, I won't talk like and eat the 90 minutes up, but we thought it would be good to have some time for questions in the end in case there are many.
Yeah, okay. I think what we'll do is probably hit most of the questions at the end, Petra, so that you can have a nice flow through here and talk about everything, and then we'll talk about the questions there when we get there. Okay?
Sounds good. So let me walk you through the components, and probably several of you know the one or other, but just for completeness, I'm covering all of these. So first one, Power VC. So as mentioned, Power VC is really our phase to cloud and virtualization on Power these days. And I mean, we have more than 3,000 clients using it. And it allows basically, simplifying management of that by deploying VMs at scale, for instance, and of course, benefiting AX, IBM I, and Linux. With, all the benefits I talked about, like the self-service portal, where you could come up with deployment templates, where you can configure various policies in terms of how many resources could be used by the one or other person. What about Spectrum Scale? Some of you might be very familiar with it. So basically, Spectrum Scale is an enterprise-grade Power file system that provides superior resiliency, scalability, and control. It is based on IBM's general Power file system, so formerly known was the Spectrum Scale product as TPFS. And what it really does is it delivers scalable capacity and performance to handle demanding data, analytics, content repositories, and technical computing workloads. So one of the advantages is that storage administrators can combine flash, disk, cloud, and tape storage into a unified system with high performance and lower cost than traditional approaches. So from my perspective, it could be thought of a kind of storage abstraction layer, and Power VC integrates with Spectrum Scale to provide software-defined infrastructure capabilities. And this basically allows organizations to build SAN-less clouds, either using the local disk within the server or backed by iSCSI disk from external storage devices. And this type of solution basically can dramatically simplify infrastructure while Power VC hides its complexity, because a lot of times TPFS was known as a very complex and hard to use product. So by integrating with Power VC hides some of its complexity. So when looking at how can Power VC be purchased and what editions we have out there, we used to have Power VC Standard Edition, the Power VC Cloud Edition, and what we made available about a year ago is the so-called Cloud Power VC Manager for SDI. SDI stands for Software Defined Infrastructure, where we basically bundled Power VC Cloud and Spectrum Scale. there's no reason why clients should not just go with the cloud edition and bring their own Spectrum Scale licenses or get them separately. It's just made Spectrum Scale in conjunction with PowerVC made available at a very attractive price point, I would say. So this provides basically an overview what it really is, and what you can see on the right-hand side are a couple of possible storage configurations. So by doing this integration, now local disks are supported in a PowerVC environment, enabling that SANDERS story that I just talked about. Secondly, if a client has network attached story, Spectrum Scale can now virtualize this in a Power Cloud, enabling support for a wide range of storage arrays. Basically, those that are supported by Spectrum Scale are now supported by PowerVC, which are quite a few. And the third one there is that, of course, if clients would like to reuse their existing fiber channel infrastructure, well, most of you know, well, if there's a storage device that's not compatible with PowerVC, it's very hard to get that in, and it takes a long time in case we decide to do so. So with that Spectrum Scale integration, this is a way to virtualize those now, like NetApp, 3PAR, and such, basically any type of external storage that's enabled by Spectrum Scale.
So, Petra, I'm gonna stop you here just for a second. So I'm not sure if this is true for everybody, but for me and at least one other person, the slides are kind of delayed as you're going through them. So maybe I'll just ask you to click them fast, and then to give yourself time to catch up to whatever the delay is.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks for letting me know.
Yeah.
So I hope you all can see the Cloud Management Console slide now.
Not yet.
Wow,
not for me
that's
anyway.
A huge delay. Okay.
Yeah, it's been.
That is very strange.
Yeah, and I'm not sure what the issue is.
Me neither. That's weird. I mean, if we have a problem, let me stop sharing and share again.
Okay.
So what
there
slide can you
it's
see
popped
at the
up
moment?
now. Yeah.
Okay.
So the Cloud Management
even
up
a
now.
minute. Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that.
So just
I will. Okay.
Just want you to be aware of it, so you can kind of talk, and I can let you know if you get too far ahead. Then
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. So Cloud Management Console. Just some background for those of you who are not familiar with it. We started to talk about Cloud Management Console quite a while back when we launched the C models on our Power 8 servers, like the E850C, the E880C. At that point in time, we very often talked about Power Cloud apps or HMC services. So this product is called these days Cloud Management Console and is software as a service. So that means it's hosted in the cloud and nothing for you to install and maintain on-prem, which of course brings some benefits that you don't need to take care of, having it up to date. It has benefits for us because we can get functionality much quicker out to you guys so that you can use it. So basically it's a framework through which we deliver microservices, I would say. On the right-hand side, you basically can see a couple of apps being available. It's logging, inventory, patch planning, and performance. And what it really means, and for me, the logging app for me, shows the best benefit. So with CMC, basically, you can connect all your HMCs and have an aggregated view on your infrastructure. So instead of searching all kind of logs and manually logging into the one or other HMC, you can answer questions with CMC like, how many LPMs are my people doing? How long do they take? That helps for future planning, of course. Or you can answer questions, how many LPMs fail? What's the top reason code? Maybe it's always a network issue and I just need to increase the bandwidth. Without such a thing as CMC, you would really log into all the different HMCs, search logs, find commonalities, and it takes much longer, or you might never find out the reason, at least not that quickly. what we have seen is that clients really like that central entry point to all of these different apps. And what we were working on and what we heard from clients is, well, couldn't we have such a central dashboard for our on-prem offerings as well? So what we were working on is to extend CMC, so that central dashboard, so that on the left-hand side, you still have the software as a services apps launching the microservices, and on the right-hand side, you can launch your on-prem products. Because what we have found is when talking to clients, there might be different teams using Power VC than Power SC, but all the people would be interested in using CMC and as well their on-prem products. So basically, that's the first step to get our web-based user interface of our various Power System software offerings that already look alike closer together as a first step. I hope you can see this slide right now that as well has the on-prem products. So you can see in blue here, basically the products you purchase and that you have configured. So in this case, Power VC and SC. So you will have the link to jump to your Power VC UI as well as to your Power SC UI. In case you do not have configured other offerings yet, like Power HA or multi-factor authentication, you will have a link to the marketplace to learn about them if you would like to. Now, I didn't click quick enough, but the next thing I'm going to talk about is cloud app management. And we don't need a slide for the background. So IBM Cloud App Management is the successor of ITM6 and APM8, and basically provides application-aware infrastructure monitoring and analysis. For instance, to identify, isolate, or diagnose availability and performance problems. And basically, the latest version of all these capabilities is called ICAM, IBM Cloud App Management. It is container-based. So my first thought, well, maybe I should not bundle this in because not all of our clients are fully on that container track at the moment. And maybe I should bundle in APM8, for which I got several requests from clients. Could you add that to X Enterprise Edition, for instance? So after some discussions, we managed to get to a point where we bundle the latest greatest, which is ICAM base, but at the same time allow clients to use ITM6 or APM8 in case they would like to continue these older versions, assuming they're still in service, which is the case for now. All right. Let me see if I clicked fast enough. Can you see the Power SC slide already, Joe?
Oh, not yet.
All right. I guess I need to click a little bit more quickly. And basically that ICAM base was the last component in that Simplify Cloud Management block. And now we're going to talk about Simplify Security and Compliance. So first, Power SC, as mentioned, and you can see some nice new screenshots on the right. The top right contains an overall dashboard that gives you an at-a-glance view of security and compliance across the environment, which is AX and Linux and Power, no IBM I for now. And underneath, kind of an at-a-glance view on file integrity monitoring. So how many AX trusted execution events did happen, how many real-time compliance for Linux, Audit D, so that you can really see which endpoint encountered an issue in terms of security and compliance, where you can actually deep dive what the messages and problems were. So Power SC really is seen as a tool to really simplify and accelerate management of security compliance, providing basically virtualization and cloud-aware security enhancements, providing all this nice web-based user interface that we are constantly enhancing. So we started first providing compliance automation capabilities under the UI. We enhanced the file integrity monitoring. We have a whole reporting section to better support security audits. And in the last release, we as well provide some patching capabilities under that UI. And for those of you who know PowerC from earlier times, there's components for trusted logging to make that tamper-proof and more. The next one is PowerC multi-factor authentication, as mentioned, was added about a year ago, which basically enforces user to log in with multiple authentication factors. And that's kind of key because the most common way for hackers to get access for your system is stolen credentials. So if they're no longer sufficient, they are locked out. So it's a way nice way to raise the overall assurance level of your environment. And actually it's required by more and more standards such as PCI, GDPR, and federal mandates. The list of supported factors had been broadened quite a bit. As mentioned, now you can use your phone because last year when talking to clients, they said, well, this MFA offering is really great, but I do not want to have an RSA fob. I do not want to have a smart card or something. I just want to use my phone and do it with that one. So now we enabled it, and as well supporting the Radius protocol, which has quite some adoption out there. And YubiKey is that little device that several clients would like to plug into their laptop as an additional authentication factor. Same as PowerC, we wrapped around a nice web-based user interface where you can configure all these policies and users. And what one benefit of this solution is, from my perspective, that makes it kind of unique, that you can come up with policies that say, a specific team within your enterprise needs to authenticate with RSA secure ID and password. Another group needs to go with a smart card, and you could even basically combine more than two factors in such a policy if you have a super secure team where you say, well, they really need to provide three of them. So this is really, you can create your own multi-factor combination, which makes it very flexible. If a client just needs RSA secure ID and that's all what they need, then basically there's not really a need for our solution. Besides, it has a nice admin UI. All right, I guess I again clicked too slowly, but let me talk about Big Fix.
Big Fix is up there.
Oh, that was quick then. All right.
Yeah, you're doing good.
We're back to speed. All right. The third component in that area is Big Fix Lifecycle, which was actually bundled in AX Enterprise Edition already. And many of you might be aware that Big Fix has some overlap with our PowerC Standard Edition product. But for now, we decided to continue to bundle it as several of our clients are using it. And as the name indicates, it provides capabilities around an endpoint's life cycle, such as patching, OS migration, and compliance capabilities. In contrast to PowerSC, it is a multi-platform product, so it supports all kinds of operating systems such as Windows, Linux, and Intel, AX, of course, as well. On the other hand, I mean, it does not have the deep integration we can provide with PowerSC on the power side of things. So, for instance, the deep integration with exploitation of the underlying stack, I would say, or leveraging operating system features such as AX Trust Execution, we can provide that file integrity monitoring and real-time malware prevention that Big Fix kind of misses on that end. Several of you might have heard about the planned divestiture of Big Fix that was announced, I think, 1 or 2 months ago. I just wanted to highlight here that this does not change anything for this bundle in the short or midterm. The only difference for us is that the revenue split for this bundle, we no longer route then to the IBM security brand, but to that third party that basically acquired it. All right, Joe, can you already see the recovery manager? Oh, not yet. Okay, we slowed down again, but that's not a problem. Yeah. So basically, with that, then we leave the security area and move towards the new pillar around high availability. And before talking about it, I mean, perfect. I thought about, well, what should we bring in for high availability? And of course, PowerHA would have been an option as well. There were a couple of reasons why I decided to go with the recovery manager. One is PowerHA is much more expensive, plus what I mentioned, right? You need 3 different PowerHA versions depending on the operating system versus you can have this one recovery manager managing AIX, IBM I, and Linux. And as mentioned, as it's that flexible, it's very well suited for cloud deployments. So what it really can be seen of, or as some people talk about it, is can be seen like the big brother of LPM, right? I mean, if you have a plant outage, want to do maintenance, you LPM workloads away. In the case of an unplayed one, now basically you restart your workload at a different location. And because it's basically VM restart based, it's not as quick as PowerHA, which has more that active flavor, right? But for a lot of workloads, this is good enough. And what we have seen from clients is that they said it would be kind of nice to have a high availability solution, but PowerHA is just too expensive, and we just don't need that high level of high availability. So for these type of workloads, the recovery manager is really a nice alternative. All right. Next one, or the last pillar, is around accelerated file transfer. And Joe, maybe you can let me know when that one comes up. Called Aspera. Aspera is basically a company I think we acquired a while ago. And what Aspera is really good at is transfer huge files in distributed environments at high speed.
It's up now.
Perfect, thanks. Aspera is not so beneficial for file transfers in non-distributed environments. Just it doesn't really make sense to use Aspera within your data center. I mean, it won't harm, but you can't see a real benefit. But where it really has huge benefits is in distributed environments, and if the files are really huge. So that could mean be between distributed data centers, but that could as well mean between a data center and a cloud, which makes it kind of interesting. So what we did here is we bundled a kind of Aspera entry offering called the Aspera Endpoint, and this one allows up to 100 megabytes per second. I decided to go with this one in interest of cost because they have basically higher speeds at higher cost, of course. And these 100 megabytes per second, from what I have seen and heard from clients, is good enough for most of the use cases. And if a client needs kind of higher speed endpoint, they can go to Aspera and get it in addition, right? Another limitation is that the endpoint basically limits the number of users to a couple of users versus if clients would like to upgrade to the Aspera server, which is much more expensive, they basically can have unlimited number of users. So that was basically the somewhat detailed walkthrough the various components. So to sum that up, and I hope you will see that slide here shortly, the Enterprise Cloud Edition really is a cost-effective bundle of, as I think and several clients, a compelling set of power system software offerings at an attractive price points that basically provide value in the pillar around simplify cloud management, simplify security and compliance management, simplify high availability, and accelerating the transfer of large files in cloud environments, no matter if on-prem or off-prem. Second thing I wanted to highlight again, I mean, we talked about it earlier, that we are making this available in 2 flavors because, when talking about the new Enterprise Cloud Bundle, a lot of people think it's just one, right? So whenever that slide comes up on the right-hand side, you will see, Enterprise Cloud Edition, which means this is the one that does not have any OS included, but can be deployed on any operating system running on our Power service. And then for convenience, we as well have an Enterprise Cloud Edition with AX so that we allow for smooth upgrades for clients coming from AX Enterprise Edition.
So Petra, let me stop you there, and the slides are just catching up, so let people look at it for a minute and stuff. So we have two separate ones, like you mentioned here. In AIX and AIX Enterprise Edition, always cost per core, right? That's how you pay for it, by the core. Is it the same with these then? It's a per core thing, and it doesn't matter which one of these it is?
Exactly. It is the same. It's licensed by core because, I mean, that's one of the benefits we have on Power as well, to have that granularity, right? And we decided to go with the same approach. So it's really very similar to X Enterprise Edition. The difference is that we have more products bundled into it. And I will talk to, we'll have a summary what options basically clients have. But it's per core. Okay, good. And I see that the chart's already changing now, so actually... So you can see a white chart or what?
Yeah, just a white chart. So I was just going to say, I'm kind of comparing it to the charts you sent me, and it's like, hold it doesn't say those other words on it, but it's supposed to be white, so go ahead.
Well, it was just animated, I guess, so the text will appear. So as you mentioned, I mean, let's talk a little bit about AX Enterprise Edition, which I did. And AX is kind of related to this bundle, right? Because, I mean, AAX is still important, and we are committed to it. And, I mean, that message very often gets not heard. One of the things I just did in the last couple of weeks to update the AX strategy paper, I'm just waiting for some final reviews, and then I will put it out. And basically, it's not really an update. It's almost a rewritten strategy paper that will, again, highlight that we are committed to AX and the role it plays, and that we care about our huge install base, right? But we cannot tell that, enough. So I thought about having a couple of very high-level AAX slides here as well. They are animated, so probably I will just click them through and then talk about them. Very unfortunate to have this delay today, but let's make the best out of it. So maybe, Joe, just let me know when you can see the graphic appear on the AX strategy and roadmap chart.
Well, I can see the roadmap strategy. I can see the matrix, support matrix now. So you got the two corners.
Okay, perfect.
Left and lower right one. And Petra, I'm really glad you said that about the AIX not going away. You're right. I think it's something that sometimes get lost, and everybody needs to know that we're committed to it. So thank you.
I agree, and that's why I have the roadmap here, and I wanted to spend a couple of more sentences on this one. So basically, as you can see, we still have roadmaps 10 years out from now. We will, and maybe I should have done this a little bit differently here, but it's always difficult to put out a compelling roadmap publicly without an NDA to be sufficiently specific. But all I'm saying here is that we have a roadmap 10 years out from now, that we will continue the yearly technology levels on 7.2. I wanted to spend a couple of sentences on what about an AX next. I said it in all my presentations last year at TechU and other places. The only reason why we did not put an AX next yet is that we are able to deliver major functionality in form of technology levels. So there's really no need for massive kernel change or they're forced to have ISVs to recompile and all that, right? I mean, for those of you who are around for a while, we lost quite some ISVs when we came out with 7.2. So the clients we talk to, the technical people, they really do not want a next major release of AX as long as they get new functionality in the form of technology levels. So the only reason why we should put out an AX next is for marketing or to satisfy analysts. which kind of would be harmful to our clients. So that's why we didn't do it yet. So that's why we didn't yet decide if or when to do that. But the message is we will continue to deliver major functionality and innovations. I will have an AX modernization chart in a bit continuously on our most current release stream, which is 7.2 at the moment, and that it is not going away just because there's no AX8 or whatsoever. If you look at the AX support metrics on the right, we have these four streams currently, well, not really in maintenance, but in 5.3, almost end of life in its extended support. I just wanted to highlight which operating system level runs on which power machine. And as you can see, the only release stream that was enabled to run natively on Power 9 is 7.2. So to be able to exploit all the new features we made available in 7.2 for Power 9. Of course, 7.1 and 6.1 run on Power 9 as well, but basically in Power 8 and P7 compat mode. And what you can see as well as 5.3 was not enabled to run on Power 9. So I hope the text box appeared by now as well that talks about end of life, end of service dates. So one thing I wanted again to highlight here is that 5.3 will finally have its end of life this April. So there will be no way to run AX 5.3 beyond that point in time supported. Some geos might provide, from a TSS side of things, usage and known defect supports through year end, but there won't be any new fixes, no security fixes, no nothing, right? So it's really, there's really the need in case you still run 5.3 to move these ones up. 6.1, right? Usual end of service happened now 1.5 years or almost 2 years ago. We currently have extended support confirmed until April 2020. We're in discussions on, well, maybe there will be another year for Power 8 and 9, maybe not, but currently confirmed until April 2020. And as well, in terms of 7.1 and 7.2, there are several end of support package services coming up, like the Tier 4 end of this year of 7.1. The Tier 0 and 7.2 already went out of support in December, and next November the Tier 1 will do so. And 2019, from my perspective, is really a year of end of support as we have Power 5, Power 6, and Power 7 hardware going out of support. And that's an important thing to consider as well because, well, it's not only about the operating system, right? It's always kind of unfortunate if you have, you have a service extension of AX but run on unsupported hardware. That can lead to kind of difficult situations. So I hope the other text box appeared by now. So basically, with this new bundle, we now have 3 options how to purchase AAX. So we have AX Standard Edition, which continues to be marketed as is. So you have a perpetual version, but as well that AX Monthly option. You have AX Enterprise Edition, which for now continues to be marketed as is, but the bundle components won't be extended or changed. And then we have the AX Cloud Edition, or Enterprise Cloud Edition with AX is a formal name, which is the third option, and as well a companion bundle of software, so to speak. And this actually might supersede AX Enterprise Edition at some point in time, but that needs to be defined.
So Petra, that little box hasn't actually popped up for me yet. So I'm going to stall you for a couple of minutes, all right? I'll stall you with one of the questions that's come up that kind of fits in with this. And that has to do with the AIX Enterprise Edition. So you said we aren't going to add anything. It's not going to be extended or changed. Are we actually going to end of life the Enterprise Edition and at some point just not offer it anymore?
Yeah, basically that relates to my last comment that Cloud Edition might supersede AX Enterprise Edition at some point in time. It might be the case that we do that at some point in time, right? But I mean, we usually listen to our clients. So what the plan was is, well, because some people told me, well, maybe change just AX Enterprise Edition, make it more expensive, put more stuff in. And I said, well, there might be people that do not want this. So I pursued the approach to basically let them coexist at least for a while. So my plan is to basically have a checkpoint after the thing is 1 year in market to see how is the adoption, what do clients think, and maybe at some point in time we might do so, or we might basically fade it out with the next power generation. So that needs to be defined, but for now it really is these three options coexist and clients really can pick and choose.
All right. And while we're at it, and that slide is kind of going to the next one now, but you had on the slide that 2019 is the end of service for Power 5, Power 6, and Power 7. But what you mean that way is really the end of service for not that hardware, right? But
for hardware, I mean, yeah.
So what you're saying there is that Power 7 won't be supported anymore after 2019? Only Power 8 and Power 9?
We put, I mean, what we always have to do, and let me go back to that chart, we have to withdraw our products a year in advance, right? So to give clients at least 1 year notice. And so we did with Power 5, 6, and 7. I mean, 5, 6 longer ago and 7. So I need to pull the exact dates. So I think Power 7 is very late in the year. But yeah, all of these have set end of service dates throughout this year. That is correct.
But yeah, by the end they all will be, yeah, because some of them already are. Yeah. Okay. And you don't need to go back to that. Well, now it's popped back to that. So, okay. Yeah. I just wanted to clarify that for everybody. All right, thanks.
Yeah, and I mean, I just put it there in addition, right? Because a lot of times people talk just the hardware and talk about, move to current hardware. I mean, for me, it's really move to a current stack. And I'm not saying this because I want to make more money. Of course, it's nice to sell new stuff as well, but it's really clients have a huge consolidation benefit and cost saving moving up. And I mean, it puts so many clients at risk running on these outdated levels. I mean, I can tell a story here of the year and last year. I had a grid sit coming in the day before Christmas. And that client told me he's 1 week down. He was running AX52, and they don't have a backup, and I need to send them media now. And you can imagine what happened. I mean, we care about our clients. We do something. But, I mean, it's very hard to get in these type of situations. And, by putting more strict and more rigid end-of-service days, I think we kind of prevent clients from some of these cases. And when talking to clients, again, it depends to whom you talk in a client's enterprise. But I got so many comments, well, why did you further enhance and put in other 5.3 extension in a couple of years back? I mean, I'm not able to move up to current OS levels unless I tell my boss there's no way to stay where I am. So I just wanted, to touch on that here.
Yeah, I absolutely agree that there's some companies that they get stuck on old software that can't migrate to the newer OS, and then they get stuck on old hardware, and I think it gets to be a nightmare for them. And the best thing to do is just stay current, and in some cases,
exactly.
people just say they're not able to. Right.
Yeah. And as mentioned, I mean, I had the pleasure to approve any of these 5B on Power 8 service extension we did throughout the last year or 2 years, right, up to that final end date we have now. So I have a good idea of these. And my question always is, what are your upgrade plans and what prevents you from upgrading, right? And sometimes it's just you need to look at it, and sometimes you find a way, and there is a way forward. Sometimes it might be harder, sometimes better, but even for clients that feel they're stuck, it's always good to have a conversation on this.
All right. And as long as we're on the topic, let's talk a little bit because 5.3, is going end of life here, and people have been trying to get people off of it for a long time. We've given them some things like WPARs, and in Power 9 we really didn't do the we kind of quit with the WPAR, though you could migrate them over if you have them. What's the go forward for WPARs in the future?
Actually, I mean, we still have WPARs, right? But that's basically the native WPARs. I mean, we had and still have, right, WPARs in the various releases, but that means if you spin up a WPAR on 7.2, it's a 7.2 WPAR. If you use WPARs in 7.1, it's a 7.1 WPAR. What we did in the past, I think, 2 times is to create these version WPARs, which means, for instance, these 5.3 WPARs, which means you can run a 5.3 WPAR in a 7.1 AAX. So basically it's a hybrid and has basically 50% operating system. That's basically what we had enabled. But that basically goes end of life with the 5.3 end of life, because it doesn't matter if it's native 5.3 or in form of WPARs. If we don't longer support it, don't any longer provide security fixes, it doesn't matter if we talk native or if we talk in form of WPARs. So one thing that I am kind of investigating at the moment, because I'm well aware there are really some clients, and a lot of these service extensions I approved were just like for 2 cores or for 3 cores, because they said, well, I'm really moving up, but I have this one application I'm stuck with on 5.3. So what I'm currently investigating is, and I hope to get this done, and this is not a pre-announce or commitment, I'm investigating if we could basically make the 5.3 WPAR files available after end of life, which basically provides clients a way forward so that they can move that application up to Power 8 or 9. Because one thing that we did is the 5.3 WPARs, for instance, client did run them on Power 8, they can move them to Power 9 as well. I mean, you cannot run 5.3 native on Power 9, but yes, you can move your 5.3 WPARs to Power 9, and that was tested. So that's something I'm currently working on.
Okay, because that was just a question that popped up while you were talking about.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you for covering that as well.
No problem. Any more questions on this strategy, metrics?
Well, the only other question that was really around the WPAR was if we were going to make it more Docker-like, Docker container-like, and I don't know of any plans to change that.
Let me talk about this on my next slide, if you don't mind.
No, that'd be great. Good, thanks.
Okay. So can you see the Red Hat acquisition slide?
Yes, it's all blank, but yes.
All blank right now. Okay, so I hope the text box appears soon, but just some background. I mean, on social media, there was so much pulled after that announcement, right? And I mean, I saw a lot of them. I had a lot of discussions. I just wanted to put 3 extremes here on this slide. So number one was like, okay, you bought Red Hat, so finally IBM admits AX is dead. That was basically the first extreme. The second one was, yeah, now we have IBM split to kill off Linux by making it proprietary. And the third one and last one, and I had to laugh a little bit about that one, yeah, IBM will clearly merge AX and Red Hat and make a mess of both. So can you see these 3 statements by now?
Yeah, I can see the 3 statements.
Okay, so soon on the right-hand side will pop up my 2 cents on this. So my view is that our message always was and will be pick and choose. So we have 3 operating systems running on Power, 2 were developed in-house, AX and IBM I, and the third one, which is Linux, by the various distros. Now, basically, we added a Linux distro to our portfolio, which allows us to offer the complete portfolio ourselves, as well as for more licensing flexibility in terms of the OS. And the Cloud Bundle is a good example, because what really some clients said, could you not just put out that Cloud Bundle with an OS license and I can use Linux or AX whenever I want, which we really couldn't do because we didn't own Linux. So I came up with a compromise of a software bundle without any OS, and basically capacity on demand and AX monthly could be leveraged to do so. But if all that goes through and we are there at some point in time, we could basically offer bundles with an operating systems license, and clients could very flexibly kind of switch the ratio of course they run AX and Linux on, which is a nice story. And the other thing is that Red Hat is no longer just another operating system. It really evolved from an open source pioneer to a driving force in the hybrid cloud space. And so it shouldn't be reduced to an operating system and this is just used to kill IX or whatsoever. But that was a strategic decision to play an even bigger role in the whole hybrid cloud strategy. Can you see the text box by now, Joe?
Yeah, I can see the text box. Can see it all now.
Okay, and basically the merge, from my perspective, that would take hundreds of years, and in particular, if you think about legal, and I don't see this happening during our lifetime. So that's just my 2 cents. But recently, when talking about AX and strategy, all that Red Hat question pops up all the time, so I wanted to make sure to cover it here. The last slide I have is on AX modernization, and that's kind of key in our AX strategy, I would say, because I think for years we always, provided new features, function, but we didn't do anything in terms of real modernization. And I think that changed during the last 2 years, and is still we are further trying to accelerate that and do more. So the first area in terms of modernization is for sure AX in the cloud. And here I'm in particular talking AX in the public cloud. So I touched on SkyTab already, right? AX in the public cloud, which is a nice story. And with that nice export-import capability, you could just go to your Power VC, export something, go to the SkyTab cloud, import it there, and there you are with your AX workloads in the public cloud without having to do a whole lot of refactoring in terms of your VM. We will have AX in a couple of more clouds. It's too early to talk about this on a public cloud, but stay tuned. This is to be announced soon, and I'm very excited when we finally have these two in place. So that different color scheme is right. That blue talks more about public cloud, and then ICP. You have heard about that in this user group call, right? IBM Cloud Private. Even though it does not really support AAX, there are APIs available to access workloads and data running on AX. So basically, you can create these new containerized workloads on the Linux side of things, integrating with workloads running on AAX. One thing we have done, and that relates to your question, Joe, in terms of the WPARS, is we put out a package on the AX toolbox, which enables AX and Kubernetes. So basically, Kubernetes managing, the WPARS, so to speak. The nice thing about Kubernetes is that it can handle various container types, so not just Docker. So it can the WPARS. So that package we put out there, I just put some details here. The master still runs on Linux, but the worker nodes can be AAX. As mentioned, the underlying containers are WPARS instead of containers, because some think, we have Docker containers in WPARS or something like that. No, it is the WPARS instead of Docker containers. And the AX images are stored in the Docker repository alongside the Linux images and deployed in the same way. So we created a demo of all that using WebSphere and Daytrade and all that. And you can see basically all these capabilities that are available on the Linux side of things, that self-healing and scheduling on and all that. At the moment, it requires basically ICP, but we are working on versions that could be used with Red Hat OpenShift or basically vanilla native without the need of ICP or Red Hat OpenShift. And several clients at the moment are actually starting with this, playing around with this. And that was the whole idea. Put it on the AX toolbox. Clients can get it, try it out, we gather more feedback on use cases and then see if we should kind of put it into the product. And I mean, at the moment, of course, there are no AAX images in the ICP catalog, but if we see traction here, a next step could be to work with our software group folks or ISVs to see if we could get containerized AX images in the ICP catalog. All right. Can you see the right-hand side already, Joe, the hyperconverged space?
I can see the hyperconverged space, yes.
All right, thanks. I mean, this is basically the whole idea behind Nutanix is, further simplify data center environment, right? As you basically, through their Prism user interface, they can manage applications no matter if they run on Power or on x86. And Power meant Linux since a while, but now it could be AX or Linux and Power. So basically, AAX is just like another VM guest under Prism, such as we had available with SUSE and RHEL before. And it runs basically fully virtualized on their Nutanix Acropolis hypervisor, which is basically a hardened KVM. The last section is, and I hope it will pop up soon, is AI in the enterprise system space. So AX and AI. We had some capabilities since a while already, and that was that clients could connect, for instance, their Oracle or AX, DB2 and AX database to the Watson data platform and analyze that data further with cognitive capabilities. As the color scheme shows here, that's public cloud, so a lot of clients do not want to do that, right? They do not want to move their data to the public cloud. So another thing that I'm driving at the moment is to enable AI or cognitive capabilities for data residing on the enterprise boxes. Because a lot of our enterprise clients say, yeah, I would like to do AI, but what I really do not want to do is to move the data off these highly available, highly secure systems just to do AI. So there's several things underway at the moment, how we could do that and how that could look like. And I get a lot of head nodding when I hear, yeah, we want to do that. At the moment, I'm searching for use cases clients really would like to satisfy, right? I mean, we have some ideas, but I mean, it's much better if we have some real use case where clients tell, well, I really would like to do this with AI, but on my enterprise box, could you help me with this? So that's basically an ask to all of you. If you would be interested in something like that, please reach out and share your use cases with me. And not only the use cases, right? I mean, we're looking into, well, what kind of scalability requirements are out there and other KPIs if we do it on the enterprise boxes, which for now is without the GPUs, right? So stay tuned for that area as well. But yeah, I'm excited about it. And I think that's quite a bit in terms of modernization that we have on the track, but need to kind of, further build out. So I'm happy to come back and talk to the one or other area in more detail, which could be more on the strategy and roadmap or the recent enhancements. I mean, I could talk an hour on live update and the evolution and what's possible right now. Or, I mean, there could be an hour spent on each of these modernization topics. So I just wanted to point this out here. I know that was relatively high level, or if you want to have basically a little bit more detailed info, I have several decks that could be shared. Just let me know. And now let me stop here. I think we had good discussions in between. I guess we have 10 minutes left. So any more questions?
Okay. So, yeah, there's a few questions that we'll go over. And your happy to come back slide hasn't quite popped up yet. But
okay.
I'll just tell everybody that, when this is over and you get the little survey that pops up, please put in some comments in there, and there's a box for things that you'd like to talk, another bug webinar topic on. So go ahead and put in a topic that you'd like to hear. If it's one of these, fine. If it's something else, you can put in something else as well. But fill in the survey. That's always helpful. So while that's got some minutes left, like you said. Petra, let's talk about some of the questions that we have here. And one of them is, with the Red Hat acquisition, what are the power support plans for SUSE going forward? And let's expand this, not just SUSE, Ubuntu and the other operating systems that we support, other Linux operating systems, and I'll go on a limb and pretty easily say we'll support all the other operating systems still, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, acquiring Red Hat doesn't mean we stop the other ones, right? And that for sure is not at all the intention. I mean, look at SUSE, look at SAP HANA, where SUSE plays a big role, right? And I mean, we still, in all of our areas, right, we have that theme of being open, which we still are, and of providing choices. So we do not want to force the client onto the one or other offering. So we will continue to support the other ones as well. Of course, if all that, let's assume everything goes through and Red Hat moves over, as mentioned, we might be able to come up with some offerings that make it easier in terms of Red Hat, right? Like putting an OS license in and just use AX or Linux. But of course, we as well have like that software only bundle that could be put on top of SUSE and Ubuntu and these type of things as well. So, yeah.
Okay, so I'm kind of looking through here to see what the other questions are. We mentioned Power 5, 6, and 7 at the end of, will all be on the end of 2019. There were some questions in 7 Plus, and so that's a little bit different model, and it's out there further. I haven't had a chance to look it up, but it will be probably a little bit different than the 7.
That is correct. We did not yet announce end of service for Power 7 Plus, so that means it won't go away at least until a year from now. So whenever we put out the RFA to withdraw 7 Plus, it's at least, I mean, usually a 12 to 5 month lead time. But yeah, that for sure won't happen this year.
One of the other questions that we got early on, I kind of popped to the top and looking down the list, Petra, one of the questions that we got early on was, you mentioned the monthly subscription, which is new. And there was some, just to talk about that a little bit more, how that works, maybe would be helpful. And you can do that while I look up the next question.
Okay. Yeah, sure. I mean, as mentioned, we put out AX Monthly 1.5 years ago. It was in Passport Advantage, so that's why no one really jumped on it. It had the granularity of 1 month. So I said, well, this is not going to fly, and no one starts to use Passport coming from the power side of things. So we worked on that compromise of monthly packages, which means you don't have the granularity of 1 month, but you can purchase, for instance, a 3-month pack, a 6-month pack, a 12-month pack, and a 36-month pack, which means, well, if you want to do a 3-month POC, you can purchase this pack. It's, again, by core, same thing, but you then pay basically for these 3 months, and the license and Swarmer are included. And after the 3 months, you can decide to purchase another 3 months, or you could decide, well, maybe I go with a 36-month package, which aligns well with the server life cycle. Or you want to say, oh, I want a perpetual license now because that's more beneficial as I will use it for whatever, 5 years, 10 years. So that's the idea behind it. Basically, the whole idea of AX Monthly is to distribute the investment in AX evenly across the usage period, right? Because, I mean, in particular, smaller clients or clients with seasonal workloads or whatever sometimes struggle with the high investment in IX right in the beginning and then a very low, compared low Swarmer renewal over time. So a lot of clients prefer to basically have, just a subscription fee every month. And I think the break even is somewhere between the 2nd and 3rd year. I think shortly before the 3rd year. So if you know you just need this for a couple of months or a year, whatever, it's quite beneficial. If you need it longer term, the perpetual license is still the way to go because you'd pay more on the monthly option if you use it for 5 years or so. I think that's that's the overall view and idea behind it.
Is it available in eConfig now? I don't know if
Yes.
you said that, if I missed it, because you said originally it was not.
Originally it was not. So in third quarter last year, I made these packages available. So now it's available in EAS eConfig. So basically you can purchase it with a box but definitely, in eConfig, the way you purchase the professional one as well.
Okay. So there's a question on, and I can't see the whole question, Jose. I don't know why it's cutting off the bottom of it for me, but on Linux-related sessions at TechU. So I'm not sure if you're privy to what's going on at TechU, Petra, but I'm pretty sure there'll be a fair number of Linux-related things going on there.
Yes. Usually it's across the board. So usually it's an overall opening, then usually it's a power opening and a storage opening. If it's a TechU where Z is included, it's the opening. And then usually there's an AX transient direction, there's a Linux transient direction, there's an IBM transient direction. And then you have various sessions on, for instance, the Power Systems software portfolio, which basically applies to Linux as well. And of course AI and all these types of things that are so far Linux related at the moment. Yeah.
And one of the comments on here, just kind of talking about the Red Hat Linux and the acquisition and such, I did see a Ginny Rometty, our IBM CEO, talk about this a bit, and with the Red Hat CEO as well. And there was a lot of discussion about not changing the Red Hat culture, keeping Red Hat the way it is, and really getting the best of each other. So they're very focused on that, and I'm pretty sure that changing any of that culture wouldn't happen anytime soon anyway. So I have some good feelings that Red Hat will stay the company it is.
Exactly. And in particular at the moment anyway, right? I mean, we need, by law, right, need to operate them as complete two different companies until the acquisition is completely done and closed, right? So that for sure. But yeah, correct. Even after an integration, so to speak, Ginny and others put a big focus on that. Red Hat has a great culture, and we want to retain this and maybe even learn from it a bit, right, on our end. So, true.
Okay. And somebody said a question, I think there's a little bit of confusion about AIX end of life, April 2019. That's just AIX 5.3 end of life in 2019. And so no support for AIX 5.3 after April 2019, none whatsoever. Some people have gotten some extra extended support until then. I mean, I think extended support was supposed to end a while ago. So 2019,
so
no support.
Went, end of support years ago. What we did is then came up with an additional service extension just on Power 8 to say, okay, the feedback we get from clients, right, it's very hard to move up to more current hardware and move up to current OS level at the same time. So we said, we give you a little bit extra time. You can move to Power 8 on 5.3 and give you that extra time to then upgrade 5.3. And I think that was extended one more time. And now we're stopping these extended supports for Power 8. The others are done anyway long ago. So that is correct. In April, basically, it is the end of life of 5.3 on no matter what hardware platform. As mentioned, there might be some geos and TSS might provide some usage and on default through year end or so. But no new fixes, no security fixes, no these type of things.
Right. Been very generous with extending it, but now it's over. So we're kind of at the end of our time. I want to let everybody know that I apologize that for the delay here on the Clark chart thing. I'm not sure why, and I apologize that they're not up on the wiki site because I usually get them up there in advance, but it just kept every time I went in and tried to edit it recently, it just told me it wasn't possible. So I know the developer work site has some issues now and then, so I will keep working at that and get those up, and then I'll put the replay to this on the wiki site as well. I'll link to the replay on the wiki site as soon as I can get in there and do the editing and all of that. So With that, I want to say thank you, Petra, for doing this. I really appreciate it. A lot of great information for everybody out there. And hope to have you back to talk about some of those other topics. Everybody, be sure to put in the survey what you'd like to hear about.
Thank you very much. Thanks for joining, and have a good rest of the day, all of you.
All right. And until next month, take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.